afternoon and welcome to Souq Business Landscape, your midday business fix where numbers meet nuance and headlines get a reality check. I'm Omobola Sandra, your guide through today's top stories shaping Nigeria's business terrain. On today's program, we begin with urban renewal in Lagos State. Governor Sanwo-Olu has approved the Apapa Central Business District, a move aimed at revitalizing one of the country's most commercially strategic yet notoriously congested zones. But will it bring genuine change, or is it just another coat of fresh paint on old problems? We'll also examine Nigeria's power conundrum. The Minister of Power says we need $10 billion annually for the next 20 years to achieve stable electricity. It's a bold figure and also a bold ambition. The real question is, does the current roadmap match the scale of the challenge? And then next, we also turn to the kitchens, or more accurately, the markets. New data from the National Bureau of Statistics shows food inflation surging in Benue, Ekiti, and Kebbi states. As prices rise and food security weakens, we ask, how much of this is economic and how much is fallout from insecurity? And finally, a diplomatic detour to the Vatican as Nigeria's president receives an invitation from the newly elected Pope. It may be ceremonial, but could this visit hold deeper significance for Nigeria's global relations and soft power? So, from Apapa to the Vatican, it's a full plate today, and join us to unpack these topics in our own way. And with us, we have our in-house policy power, Dr. Idahosa. Good afternoon.
Sandra, pleasant to be with you this afternoon.
I also have the ever insightful Moyosore Adebiyi. How are you doing?
Pleasure as always, thank you.
And also, Mr. Chief John Rogers. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm still trying to be better.
You're trying? It can only get better from here. All right, so we'll take a very short break and we'll be right back. We cut deep into the first story for the day. The Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has approved the establishment of the Apapa Central Business District, CBD, as part of broader efforts to boost infrastructure efficiency and support a thriving commercial environment in one of Nigeria's most vital economic zones. The announcement was made by the Special Advisor to the Governor on CBD, Bola Olumide during a ministerial briefing commemorating the second anniversary of the Governor's second term. The new CBD initiative aims to improve road infrastructure, enhance environmental cleanliness, and address persistent issues such as illegal street trading that hinder economic activity in the area. Mr. Omobola highlighted the administration's developmental vision for business districts across Lagos, noting that ongoing reforms in Lagos Island Ikeja CBDs serve as models. These efforts include strategic traffic management, hopefully, beautification projects, and the removal of illegal structures, all aimed at fostering orderly commerce and boosting investor confidence. The collaboration with agencies like LOMA, that's Lagos State Waste Management Authority, and the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, further underscores a cross-sector approach to ensuring security, compliance, and efficient service delivery within the commercial zones. And there's a lot that we're actually looking forward to. There's the emphasis on the importance of stakeholder participation, urging transport unions, market leaders, local residents to actively support and uphold government regulations. Regular stakeholders' engagements are a key part of the CBD strategy to ensure transparency and also cooperation in implementing the reform. So by transforming Apapa into a structured and business-friendly district, the state government is looking to reinforce its commitment to economic development, urban renewal, and making Lagos a competitive commercial hub in Lagos, or in Nigeria, or West Africa at large. So the conversation around Apapa, is it a long time coming? Are we excited about this? And what does it mean for the Lagos State economy? I'll start with you, Dr. Idahosa.
Well, I think for me, part of the Greater Lagos project, to see that Lagos is described like a mega city, is one that, of course, is welcoming, especially realizing that Lagos is the commercial nerve center of the country, and thinking about people who are doing very well, and there's so much money around, but also with the money is also so much slum. And especially in this area where we're talking about Apapa, which of course used to be the highbrow area in the whole of Lagos State. So the who in Nigeria had lived in Apapa. And so today, that whole area has become a shadow of itself, from Ijora, Causeway to Boundary, through Ajegunle, a lot of those areas that are supposed to be a sinusoid of what everybody wants to see has become a mess of itself. And I think the cleanup is urgently needed. But how government will be able to achieve that without resistance is another question that, of course, will need to be addressed by the Lagos State government, because the people who currently occupy those places, they may necessarily have to be moved if that dream will have to come true, because as you know it now, Baba and its environs have become almost like a slum. And no thanks to the port that is situated along that corridor. And everybody, the wharf rat and everybody are all around in those places and really creating the mess in the space. So I think that government, beyond speaking, will really need to do a lot in terms of addressing the infrastructure decay in Apapa area.
Well, Mr. Chooks, what do you think? Do you support? Is it a long time coming, and is this something? Why did it have to take this long for us to have that transformation in Apapa?
Apapa has waited, Apapa has prayed, and Apapa is seeing.
Apapa has been on his knees.
Apapa is seeing something on paper right now. I'm happy with this because I know it's possible. If we look at what has happened before, antecedents, if we remember 10, 15 years ago, there was a place called Oshodi. Although that didn't complete, but at least it started. Compared to what it is now. So Apapa can also see a better lease of life. Now, for Apapa, just like Doc said, Apapa used to be the haven for those that were dreaming. If you wanted to see, in quote, the elite, you just drive through Apapa. We still have some of those beautiful houses and estates there, but things surrounding them right now won't even let you get close to those particular places. And looking at the ports and their proximity to the ocean and the sea, we're supposed to see the best kind of estates, amenities around that place, but it's unfortunately is the opposite that we are seeing. So for the Lagos State government to stand up and say it's time for us to do the needful, we just wish that they will go beyond paper, beyond rhetorics, and get it done. And also we need to consider that the commercial activity that is coming with the port will be affected. Not just the official commercial activity. There are unofficial commercial activities that are also legal, but they are all happening around there, not just the wharf rats. There are a lot of markets that happen there, officially legal markets, but they are not supposed to be there. They can't be somewhere else. And they've littered that whole place and causing a whole lot of congestion and problem. So how do they now get to move this market and still let them function? Because the government need them, the people need them.
Yeah, but I just think that there's a big and a more fundamental challenge, really, because the port is not an issue. If you get to Marrakesh and you get to Casablanca, just in common Morocco here, and see the nature and the beauty around their port, you won't think that business is happening there. If you go to UAE, Dubai, and see the port environment, you see the cleanliness that is all there. I think one of the issues that we must need to also address is whether dirtiness is part of the culture of our people that must be dealt with. And that's very, very, very important. And I think that's where Lagos really need to put feet on the ground, dirtiness. Because I remember reading from third to first world, when you said before they could build a modern Singapore, they had to first of all remove third world mentality from the head of the Singaporeans. And I think that needs to happen in this place.
Thank you very much. I'll go to Moyo now. I mean, what do you think regards Apapa?
It's been a long time coming. When we're having a conversation. I was having a conversation with Doc about how Apapa. He said it was the signature of all eyes. It's an important place. We have the ports there, generating trillions a year. So this is also, calls the question: why do we have areas that are their nerve centers, very important, and we let infrastructural decay just take over the place? I was telling Chuk that I've been there once, I'm not going there again. You will not see me there again.
Through Apapa can be actually very...
The roads, it's almost like you're trying to kill me. How did we let it get to that point in the first instance? Yes, we still have some nice estates in there, but if the journey for me to get there is looking like that, then there's a problem. So again, there are going to be a lot of issues here. As the doc said, there's going to be some resistance. The issue of gentrification will come into play here, because there are going to be low-income residents who live there that are going to be like, where am I going to go?
The shanties.
The shanties that they let, take over most of the place. So those are the things that we're going to have to look at. But it's also important to note that when you have an area that is a nerve center business-wise for the nation, it should be a priority that at least there's proper infrastructure there. And also, again, about the dirtiness. This is not the first time we've talked about this thing in Lagos. The last time somebody trended about talking about Lagos being dirty, what Lagosian said was that the person should go back to their home states. That's not how we approach things. That's not how you approach conversations. So this is needed. It's a long time coming, and I hope that the government are prepared for all the challenges that will arise, because there would be some resistance. Definitely, it's just what it is.
There will be some resistance, of course. Even for whether good or bad. But now the question is: are we looking forward to any meaningful or significant, addendum to the economy of Lagos State with Apapa becoming a CBD? Are we looking forward to any? Is it going to translate into anything financial for Lagos State?
I mean, when we're talking about, when they did the the road around Costain back then, when they did it, you saw a lot of businesses spring up. You look at that road now, there are a lot of insurance companies there. So obviously, if you make the place better, and transportation is better, all those trucks can move a lot freer, there's no traffic, a lot more businesses will want to move to that area. It's just what it is.
A lot left in the first place. A lot left in
because of
yes.
But those good old days, what they used to call...
When you say good old days, I wasn't there.
You weren't there.
Be fair to me.
Now it's a good old day for me.
I don't know how good it is right now. Those days during festivities, you have to go to Apapa.
Definitely.
To go experience some fun.
If you've not gotten to Apapa, you've not been anywhere.
Yeah. So I think really we can still recreate it if, of course, and I think what is just important is that Lagos State need to be more stricter in terms of enforcing how people should live. And I think that's the major problem. Because it's human beings that are turning those places into slum,
exactly,
really.
Yeah,
but because they come, I see myself drive through Marina, and you're seeing people in a broad daylight defecating inside the water.
Lagos is not dirty. Don't
No. But there's something that you can go there to look at it. You take your camera there. This one
It's very tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
No mind.
I'm not talking in the night. I'm talking in the daytime.
Broad daylight.
That's water burning. In the village they say bush burning, but here they are burning water in the broad
we don't do this in our Lagos, please.
And I think that government needs to do something about that. Because there's so much money around water, because tourism grows around water.
Yes.
Some years ago, in United Arab Emirates, they have just about 50 kilometers of water space around the entire emirate. And then the king of Abu Dhabi asked the question, what's the greatest thing that drives tourism? And he says, water. And he said, but we don't have water. And they came up with a very beautiful project to reconstruct water around so that their tourism potential can grow. But yeah, we have a big water here.
Amazing.
And all we do is defecate on it, and people cannot do sports on it, people cannot live around it, and that is really taking away resource from us.
I even love that he said that, because there's where you take a boat from in Apapa right there.
Jetty.
There's a jetty right there in Apapa. I think I was going towards, what's the name of that place? It's an island, so to speak. But the water was smelling. No, not Tinkan. The other one. No, the other one. Okay, anyway, it was smelling. The water was smelling. The water was dirty. So if we are going to really talk about, bettering the infrastructure of an area, especially Lagos, that most of it is water, I think we should also prioritize cleaning up our waterways.
You see, when I hear they talk about the blue economy, and there's something that they are missing out. I take people out, and we're in the UAE. We go to Dera Creek. And all you see there, from 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. in Dera, there's market. Because all the boats are in the water, there's entertainment going on inside the boats, and all the people who come in to visit UAE, they are just driving. You see, 2 hours drive, they drive around the water, move around the water in Dera, and come back again, and they serve them food inside the boat, and they are paying for it. A lot of people are benefiting, not just government. The people who are doing the business are making money. The people who are driving the boats are making money. The musicians are making money inside the water.
And that's possible here.
And a lot of people come to the UAE to have this experience. Why can't we? God has given us so much that we can profit from.
Yeah.
But we have used our hands to actually damage. And I think that is the area where, of course, Lagos really need to be more stringent. Yes, while we need these people to help us to win elections, we must also order them in such a way that they can become real, very, very civilized in terms of the way they live. I was talking to the DG Public Service Reform in Abuja, and I said to him, you see, there's a lot of things we are always afraid of. We can create new city for people. There are a lot of spaces in Lagos State today we can actually designate as farm settlements and areas and move people and create small bungalows where people can live a decent life and earn a decent living without really creating the kind of eyesore that we see in city centers.
Okay, another thing is this. If we remember, just like you were saying, those good old days of yours, I read it of history books. Now, we have train tracks that functioned well and was servicing the port. So a lot of the, if we put them in quote, trailers and trucks that come in to take containers out of the port, we really don't need them. If we have those lines, they are still there, just that they are no longer in use because of disrepair. If we have them back, we can now have a container port somewhere else. So we don't need these trucks plying those roads. That way we open up.
That's the major issue.
Open up the road some more.
As regards, the road infrastructure in Apapa. But if Lagos State has been able to achieve what it has achieved, Lagos Island, and what it has achieved, these are the two other central business districts that we have in Lagos State, Ikeja and Lagos Island. We should be able to replicate the success in Apapa. And just as, was stated during the announcement, the fact that the major reason for the creation of the Apapa CBD is, for maintenance issues, because it has been a big problem from time immemorial. There were rules that were brought up. Oh, the heavy-duty trucks can't move at a certain time. They can only move at a certain time and whatnot. But we look forward to the replication of the success of the Lagos Island CBD and the Ikeja CBD. You're still on to the Souq Business Landscape. We'll take a short break, and we will be right back. Welcome back. It is still the Souq Business Landscape. I'm moving on to the next story. The National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, says food prices rose the most in Benue, Ekiti, and Kebbi states. In its April report, NBS said Benue had the highest yearly food inflation rate at 51.76%, followed by Ekiti with 34.05% and Kebbi with 33.82%. And this means people in these states are spending much more on food than last year. NBS also said Benue, Ekiti, and Yobe saw the biggest month-to-month food price rise in April, Benue topped the list again with a sharp 25.59% rise. This may be linked to recent deadly attacks in Benue that have forced many people to flee their homes and farms. On the other hand, Ebonyi, Kano, and Ogun saw food prices drop last month. Across Nigeria, overall food inflation slowed slightly. The April food inflation rate was 2.06%, down from 2.18% in March. Prices of corn flour, yam flour, beans, and other local foods dropped a little. Headline inflation also dropped from 24% to 23.7% here now in April. It's very ironic, actually, if you ask me. Benue is supposed to be the food basket of the nation. What is going on at this time now?
What is going on is what we are directly seeing. For our brothers and sisters in Benue, our hearts are with you, and we pray that you are safe where you are. Our farmlands are the main place where we are getting food from. For the people in Benue, they're not depending on somebody to import anything. Theirs is go to the farm, harvest, take to the market, pay for what you need for other supplies, and take care of yourself. Now, if they find it difficult to go to the farm, then there's a problem. For those that can go, they now have more mouths to feed, because those that can't go have to depend on them. So the prices will soar. But what I'm trying to look at this particular figures is this. If the yam coming to Lagos is coming from that side too, how come the prices in Lagos, we don't have that hike? That's just what I'm thinking in my head.
Yeah, but you should understand that in Nigeria there are different categories of yams. So if you go to the market today, you find Onitsha yam, you find Abuja yam. So it's not just Benue that's producing the yam. So there are a lot of people who are producing yam. So Lagos is just like a hub. Everybody brings in what they have and they sell. Yeah, but that said, I think the challenge in Benue, and not just Benue, I think in the entire of the Middle Belt, needs to be seriously addressed by the current government. And I feel, in my understanding, that some of these issues are over-politicized, and therefore we are really not treating them as they should, or the kind of priority that they should be given. And so it's a fundamental challenge. And I think that the current regime must do a lot to see how we bring peace to the entire of the Middle Belt. Because they are quite critical to the survival of this country. The crisis in Benue, the crisis in Taraba, the crisis in Plateau is not doing Nigeria any good. And we cannot overstate this. And I think the efforts of government should be in those areas. Yes, some of these crises may predate some of us who are sitting down here. It's not as if they are new. Maybe we will just a new emphasis on them. You see, the crisis in Benue is as old as 100 years. The same in Southern Kaduna, the same in Taraba. That, of course, this issue, how do we sit down to discuss them, is one thing that maybe the entire nation is running away from. Take, for example, you remember Zango Kataf in the southern part of Kaduna? They've been fighting for over 100 years. So why is this fight not abating? Why are generations inheriting this crisis? We're not speaking to that, but we just look at it from the political lens and say, oh, regime is not doing enough. But I think we need to actually look at the problem in this area in the face to be able to address them. Because many of them may not just be, as we call them, herdsmen attack. They are much more. Because some of these issues and where they are happening, you're finding that there are those who claim to be indigenous, and then, of course, there are those who claim to be settlers. Now, how do we ensure that both indigenous and settlers, they are all living together? It's a crisis that we need to manage. Yeah. We moved from here to other parts of the world. And I don't see it that it would be nice when we hear that because we have moved to some part of the world and then people are killing us because we just moved, or they say, oh, we cannot stay here, then we have to stay on the air. So we must find a way to create a balance in terms of the narrative so that we actually know what the problems are and then know how to address these issues and this problem. And I think that's fundamental. Of course, the state is not doing enough in terms of engaging both sides in this conversation. We do it as if that there are people who are perpetrating these heinous crimes. They are faceless. The truth is that they have faces to it, and government must find a way to do a proper stakeholder engagement and know why these things persist and how do we get out of the trouble.
So is it more about security or, more about fiscal policies, government intervention and whatnot?
I think it's security. I have said this thing time and over on this table. When you look at our demographics, you see the way the nation has moved over time. In 1960, for example, we just have barely 46 million people who were living in Nigeria, and our land mass is less than 1,000 square kilometers. Yeah, if you compare that with a population of 440 million people in Canada, with a land size of over 10,000 square kilometers of land, you can imagine why they can accommodate more people coming in. But in Nigeria, rather than we even taking advantage of the land, you find that in the Northwest, for example, and in the Northeast, desertification has pushed civilization to the center. So over 50% of arable land in the Northeast has been taken over by sand. Now, these people that are living here hitherto can no longer fit into those environments. And so it's forcing a migration into the center. Now, and these people are struggling for life. Like they say, if you don't have anything to live for, you can die for any cause.
Yeah. Well, if you don't have anything to live for, you can die with a cause. A lot of people have something to say as regards this particular conundrum that we have found ourselves. So let's take a quick listen to the voices from the streets.
It has not been moving very well like that. Even with the fact that the prices are dropping, but still, market are not moving very well.
Now, market is not move. With the Malay small, they go down now. Firstly, the transport fare, it causes everything to be it lets the market to cost because the way the transport fare, the money they use to transport, the money to use to transport the goods are too costly. And if we want to calculate the money, we add the transport fare in the market we bought. That makes it, and we bought it costly. From where we bought it, it has already cost. And the transportation also, we calculate it on it. All those make it to be cost. And dollars also affect our market. It affects it. The transport fares, it affects it.
The majority really affects the market, make and they increase like that and transport. Because when you go to north, this is a good signal go for north, it's not rich like that. But with transportation, with the problem where they go to, you can't bring to Lagos, the money go increase. If you check how much they sell for, before not with the amount they sell them now. Before it should be about 2 something or 3 something, but now it's about 800 and something there. I don't see them. So when you don't buy food, do all those kind while I finish. Before you go reach here, they go out their own money, their own money for food. So the thing go come up. Now plenty challenges, so no be the amount they buy before they buy them now. Like this one, okay, let for example, now see this game now. Before we sell it for 700, 800 for pepper. But now it's 2,000. You don't see the difference. You see as take jump go, so the money it go up way. So because of say it goods they high, now make the market no they move. So now when it is still cheap, I will not say finish. I will only prepare to go ourselves go rest.
Most of goods are already dropping. Most of it are already dropping down. So it's not like maybe let's just say there is no money. The economy is bad. That's why everywhere is just dull.
If I get money buy plate market, market will go move. You can get many. If I get it like that, then we buy it. But no money that won't go buy it. Because I won't buy all the market now. Now money, millions of millions. So me, I don't get million. So now because of that, the market, plenty, go up.
Everything is affecting me, even affecting my family self. Because we cannot afford to buy food. Ordinary bread now, before we are buying bread, boku bread. We are buying those sliced bread. We are buying it 1,000. It starts from 700. Now it's now 1,800. bread, ordinary bread, or those sliced bread like boko and or jendo bread. Even rice, we cannot. If you buy 500 rice now, it's like you buy 100 naira rice. You cannot buy beans to eat rice. You cannot buy macaroni to eat rice. Everything is cost.
If they feel control price, maybe control price the feed day, the thing no go affect. But then do everything, this thing, and what is it called? The control price issue. We say this thing.
Well, that's the reality of the average Lagosian. But then, of course, a lot of people, would attribute that to the fact that maybe we should have more agricultural, engagement here in Lagos. Let's have more farms in Lagos to reduce logistics, because that's what they blame the price hike on. By the time you have to bring in, the food items from the Benues and the Ekitis and the Kebbis, of Nigeria down to Lagos State. Do you think that in a way, maybe we need to decentralize our farming, the fact that we are way focused on one particular region to feed the entire country?
Well, I don't think that's a major problem. The fundamental here is a challenge that we face. Take, for example, if you are going to haulage probably yam or corn from Niger to this place, there are a lot of things that you are going to go through. The bad road is there. That's no motorable. You have police people on the road.
Checkpoints.
On the road. You have council people on the road. And right there in the farm, you also have people who are collecting illegal taxes from the farmers and that are not regulated. They go to farm and they ask you to come pay taxes to them, but they are not government. They are not governmental bodies, but they are taking taxes. Now, that's the trend in the North Central and the North right now. And governments have to find a way to deal with those issues. And it is only in dealing with those issues that we can have prices actually moderate. Because as long as those factors are there, prices will still continue to go up and up and up. Yeah, but beyond that, and I think we also need to encourage a lot of things that we can do around the house, which of course the First Lady has been campaigning, starting from government houses where at least our tomatoes and our pepper, we can grow them. And then that also puts a lot, because the simple issues is what they call law of demand and supply. So the more supply you have, of course, prices will also respond.
Moyo, is this heavily dependent on security reforms? Should we look to the government to do more as regards security in order for, because Kebbi, Benue, these are states that are, have a lot to offer as regards, and this is Nigeria that we're looking at, putting Nigeria first. Just how many days ago, the notice came out, the executive order came out as regards the fact that anything that can be gotten from Nigeria must be gotten from Nigeria, no importation. So if we have, some of this produce, and then we have states that are supposed to, supply this produce are struggling to even harvest or to even plant.
You see, there's no way we can look at this when it comes to food inflation, the security and everything. It's a governance issue, right? Whether it's a communal clash or some headsmen or some people are collecting illegal tax, it is a governance issue, probably from the state level, from the federal government. So our government needs to introduce infrastructure that can solve these kind of issues, the logistic problems that they are facing in even transporting the food everywhere, even having autonomy of their farms. People should not be able to just walk up onto your farm and just do whatever they like. These are the kind of things that annoy me. I don't understand what that's about. The anyhowness of it all. But that's what obtains, and it's ridiculous.
It is. Let me ask Mr. Chooks now, because Doctor mentioned something the other time. He said the issue is becoming too politicized, and then you have Moyo on one hand saying that it's a governance issue. What do you think?
Well, I will play to the governance issue a bit. A lot of times when things happen, we look to the center And we need to stop that. Yes, we need to stop that. I elected somebody to go represent me as a councillor. I elected somebody to go elect me in my state house of assembly. Then I elected somebody as a governor. We don't hold them responsible. Now, people say I get too harsh sometimes. If my governor knows that if my farm is burnt, by the time he returns, half of his family house will be besieged. My farm will not burn.
First of all, this is not.
No, I don't know if you understand. Now, let's take it this way. Now, outside this crime, you don't have the right to trespass on someone's land. Hope you know.
Yes.
If the person guns you down, that's your business.
Yeah,
the same thing that happens on Trunk A Road. If a car kills you on Trunk A Road, is your business. These are things that we should know. It's the responsibility of both the community, the owner of the farm, the state to secure their land.
Okay.
First of all, when it goes beyond them, then the federal government can now come in.
Is this not beyond them already?
No, it's not beyond them.
No,
now,
see,
hold on. People cry without acting first. Because somebody comes to ransack your place doesn't mean you should run. Because if you keep running, they will keep coming.
And they will be killing the people. I don't understand I really don't understand what this is.
Hold on. Just a few years. Just a few years ago, or 1 or 2 years or so ago, we had a situation where a state governor in Nigeria came out and said, "Oh no, it's a parallel government in my state."
Can you imagine?
Non-state actors?
Yes, non-state actors. It's a parallel government in my state.
So
I
where do
have
we go
people
from
that
there?
are also, ruling the state as concurrently as I am also ruling the state.
You see, when you look at the fragility index, the last report, Nigeria was put at number 2 as one of the most fragile states in the world. And the reason is very simple. Even in this Lagos that we are talking about, there are too many untouchables.
Yes.
And the reason is that if government touches it, that government itself will not exist. So we are having more powerful non-state actors.
How did they become that powerful?
Yeah, but that is what it is. It is because the state itself failed ab initio. And I think it's the failure of the state over time that we find ourselves where I was talking with Mr. Sam yesterday. I said, when I sit and I'm watching television and people say, oh, in those good old days, we used to have people from other parts of the world come to university in Nigeria. And I said, the people who tell so, they don't also tell us who were the lecturer at that time, that they were also from other states. And that at the point that we went into the policy of indigenization, the nationalization policy that was done during the military era, a lot of expatriates left this environment, and what we have, that to say we could govern ourselves, and those spaces we are unable to govern. Now, take for example, when Obasanjo was living, we have over 29 shipping lines. All of them gone. People were working there. A lot of people who were working in those shipping lines, they are all in the street, and they're having children, and the children are on the street. We had over how many airlines? All gone. The people who were working there, they're all in the street. NITEC gone. NEPA gone. A lot of people on the street because we are not able to manage this basic infrastructure that would have given life and support to the people. So what you do is that you couldn't give them life. These people have nothing to live for, and they can die for any cause. And you have a family that you want to live for. So you don't want to dare the knife, you don't want to dare the cutlass, you don't want to dare this thing. So this is a problem that the nation is facing.
So who should we look to?
Where is the problem?
So who should we look to? Exactly. So who should we look to
Obviously,
for the political will to handle these people?
It's the government. If people come to my farm and they're holding guns, I'm going to run. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, at that point
so we should stay. I should be fighting them.
There are communities that won't take that. Hope you know.
There are some communities.
There are communities that they won't dare go to.
Well, fair. Kudos to them.
Oh no, hold on, Mr. Chooks, because another governor also came out. That's another governor. That's a former governor of Kaduna State that said, "Oh, I'm running a parallel government here." And then we have another former governor as well, Zamfara State now, who said, "Oh, see, anybody that wants to hold gun should hold gun at this point."
And defend himself.
Yes, that's what a governor of a state.
And because he has become helpless.
Because he has become helpless at that point. He doesn't know what to do, what can be done.
But in a situation
because
where...
at the end of the day, the military, the army, they're all federal institutions.
What of the size of Nigerian police, for example? We have less than 1 million policemen in Nigeria who, and I'm not sure even they have 500,000.
No.
We are not up to 500,000 policemen in Nigeria as of today.
Wow.
Now, what you're saying, you see, you just mentioned Tronque Road, where, of course, you see.
Okay.
Now, you drive along this road, and you see a number of people who are violating this thing at will. And, of course, you need a policeman at every junction to say that, look, this road is not to be trespassed. People are supposed to use overhead bridge. You see, you are driving through a road, and you are seeing a bridge up, and people are abusing the driver who is moving on the down floor. This lawlessness, which seems to be our second nature, is a big problem.
It's a big problem.
And that's why I talked earlier on that, of course, when Liquid talks about removing the third world mentality from the head of people so that we can become more civil.
All right. Well, that is the crux of it all. I mean, state governors, and that's why the conversation around state policing, whether or not, you know, it would resolve a lot of all these issues, is still the big question. Because the local government chairman can only do as much. The state governors can only do as much. At the end of the day, the military, the army, the police, all of these, they all report to the federal. And that's the big question. So who should we hold responsible for this particular issue? We'll take another short break. When we come back, we'll go into our next story.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job. What keeps the heartbeat of a community alive? Is it the courage to create, the power to connect, the vision to transform? Well, it's all of this and more. It's a symphony of ideas, innovation, and industry. But where do these stories come alive? It's right here on The Isle, 104.9 FM, the station where dreams meet action and growth finds its voice. The Isle, 104.9. Business, economy, development. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. It is still the Souq Business Landscape. Moving on to the next story. The Minister of Power, Adebiyi, has said that Nigeria needs $10 billion every year for 20 years to have steady electricity. He spoke at a solar power project opening in Kaduna, and he said the country's power problems come from poor maintenance, low investment, and old transmission grids not being fixed for over 60 years. Adebiyi said President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government is working hard to stop power failures across Nigeria. He promised reliable energy for important places like the Nigerian Defense Academy. He added that the new energy law that helps states and local governments take part in producing and delivering electricity. The minister also explained that fixing the power system needs money and fixing old problems first. The new law gives some states control over power work, which will help to improve electricity. This is a big step to solve Nigeria's long power supply issues. But then, 10 billion every year for 20 years. Yeah.
So basically, it's telling us that we should not expect any major change.
I feel like it's a very
It's a cop-out. That's a little cop-out.
Yeah.
Don't hold me responsible for anything.
This is not my fault. This is the problem. And this is what can be done or what cannot be done. So everybody just take care of yourself.
Augusto did an independent analysis of the situations and the crisis in this country. And he said that for Nigeria to be able to meet its infrastructure deficit, that we need between $80 to $150 billion annually.
Amazing.
For 30 years to be able to survive it. Now, what that means is that when you are looking at the power infrastructure in Nigeria, yesterday or 2 days ago in my village, my little village, they were all celebrating because we were eventually able to get a transformer. Now, this transformer, one small transformer, one feeder transformer
for the community.
In short, we have been contributing money about for the past.
Oh, you even bought, it's even you that bought the transformer.
Yeah.
Oh, dear Lord.
So we're contributing money to buy transformer. Now, this transformer is not the property of the village.
No.
It's the property of
the distribution
company.
So why are you the one paying for it?
Now, we pay for transformer. We pay for, what do you call it? The wires. We pay for the meters. For these people to collect free money. And this is where we talk about when people even understand the nature of a problem before you can even factory this issue. We have a power agreement with distribution company who brought nothing, zero revenue to start that business. In short, the good Lord Jonathan government even borrowed some of them money, which up to now has not been repaid.
I was waiting for that part.
Now, all the assets that NEPA had in this country, their headquarters, regional headquarters, landed property, this disco has sold all to make private money.
Well, the argument would be the fact that there are a lot of institutions and parastatals that are owing. Just last year, the revelation came that Aso Rock was owing about 3.2 trillion.
You see, let's
is it allegedly or you said the
I'm not talking about, you see.
According to them.
You see, this argument will make sense if they have done any initial investment. To say that Nigeria was selling power to you.
Very true.
And you didn't have the capacity. So the state handed money to you and handed their infrastructure to you. You made money off it. And you're not giving back value to society. And yet government is not finding it convenient, really, to even try these people because this is a sabotage. And government must be able to call a spade a spade.
At the end of it all, the distribution company can only distribute what is available or what has been generated and transmitted.
Now the irony here is, Sandra, the irony here is also a very sad analysis. The generators do 7,000 and the disco can only take 3.5 thousand.
3.2537.
So this is a problem. Yes. So it's not even the issue of generation, it's the issue of distribution. Because if distribution, we can get it right, that, okay, these people are not capable, they are inefficient, let's get in efficient operators.
Okay, so if
and government don't need to spend this 10 billion.
Whatever it is that's available, make it available.
Yeah, government don't need to spend a dime to fix the Nigerian power problem. We only need to create the environment for businesses to thrive. And what is this environment? To say, yes, we have been regulated, these guys don't have capacity, let's get people who have capacity to run these things.
Dr. Edausa, this same minister, sometime last year, contradicted himself by saying that the major issue that we're having, because the grid collapsed about 10 to 11 times last year, and the major issue, that he pointed out is vandalism.
Is what?
So, vandalism.
Vandalism, okay.
Yes.
Vandalism has been happening, with all due respect, before the minister was born. It's something that has been with us. People have been executed for vandalism.
So you say
at
that
a particular point in time,
pumping this money into the power sector, is this going to solve
his analysis is not bad, but the problem and the question we want to ask is whose money is going to be pumped in here? These are another question we need to ask. Then I want to ask the doctor, these people, who are these particular people handling transmission and distribution? If you remember, before the president you mentioned, before he left, they shared, that's the words I will use, this among a select few across the regions. So they are the ones, these same politicians, I'm not even saying businessmen, these same politicians, they are the ones handling this transmission and distribution. Now, if we are looking at, let's completely break it down. They say we've deregulated that particular sector. Okay, good and fine. So why do I still have to generate and look for you to transmit what I'm generating? how do we completely break that circle? How do we, like if my community decides, okay, good and fine, the entire is sold or not, we are going to put up a power station. I don't need to wait for whoever is the big shot in my locality that is controlling Lagos West to give him what I'm generating, and he will now in turn now tell me how much he's going to pay me. Why can't the government completely say, if you're generating, handle your distribution, handle your transmission. Any facility that is ours belongs to you. Pay us this or
the
pay
government
us
is still in charge of the transmission. The government, and that is the root. That is the root of it. The government is still in charge of the TCN, the Transmission Company of Nigeria. And that is the root of all of this. So whether or not, yes, systemic corruption as regards, the distribution companies, the disco dancers, but then you also have, from the get-go. Just in this particular report now, we also got, the fact that the minister mentioned, there's a lot that we need to resolve. We need to look at our greed. We need to also, support the government, because we have told state government that you can now do what you can now generate, you can now, support yourselves, which Lagos had been doing and was trying to do, for quite a while. So at the end of the day, we're still coming back to the government.
You see, this is
because it's not full privatization.
We're just continue to throw money at this issue, and it's not going to solve anything. That's the real problem here. If there's no transparency, if there's no structure, if there's no order in what we're doing. In fact, every time I've heard the Minister of Power say something, it's never been good news. Throughout his tenure, it's either vandals are vandalizing something, or they're increasing the or they want to remove more subsidies. Again, this subsidy issue, we've bastardized subsidy in a way. I understand that it's bearing down on our purse, but subsidy, we act like subsidy is a new thing. It's a terrible thing that we just pulled out of somewhere that only Nigeria does. Can we actually relax?
Yeah, but I think the issue here is a market economy. And if you have free entry, free exit, government must allow those who participate and allow multiple participation so that we are not at the mercy of a monopoly or an oligopoly. The problem here is that you have a monopoly. EKDC is controlling the Lagos Island. IKDC is controlling the mainland. Now, those in the mainland don't have option. Those on the island don't have option. That's a monopoly.
That is a monopoly.
Now, if you go to Edo, it's a monopoly. If you go to Anambra, it's a monopoly. Now, imagine a situation where, for example, EKDC can trade power anywhere in the country. They don't necessarily have to be in Lagos, as long as they have the capacity. Because the infrastructure that was not produced by those people who are controlling that region. They just acquired it. They have not maintained the transformers.
They don't even buy the transformers.
They don't maintain the transformer. They have not maintained the pole lines. No new investment in the last 10 years. That's a problem. So you have you are saying, because our problem is not just about generation or transmission. Our problem is mostly distribution. Let's even assume that we can distribute everything that we are able to generate and transmit at this point.
Let's get there first.
We cannot. So this is the
Let's
problem.
get there first.
Now, we are doing so much things, and this is taking money into the pocket of some people. You know, I was in UAE in 2011. We sat there in a room and we were talking, and one of my friends asked me a question and said, imagine that it's a blink of light in this room for 5 minutes, the number of people that will die. And he said, that's why they said in UAE here, when the government says, if anything happens, head will roll, it does not mean sacking people.
Heads are actually wrong.
It means heads are rolling.
Of those that are responsible.
Those are responsible. Good. And so that's why government will do everything to ensure that the right price is paid. So you don't have an excuse to come back that, I didn't have enough money.
And the right people are in those places.
Are in those places.
Okay.
Because if as a doctor, for example, you treat a pregnant woman and the baby die in the womb, you are liable. It's capital offense.
Negligence.
But these are things that are normal. No, here is
it's
normal.
Yeah, of course, everybody take it and just go away.
It's happened.
These are the things we need to address. Because if we don't address these basic issues, that people just come, take free money from the system and walk away, then we're going to be in trouble.
This 10 billion now, is it going to solve anything?
The government don't need 10 billion. The government need investors. And what government need to do is take their hands up there.
Transition.
Remove your filthy hands up there and let people do business.
Yes. There's nothing that we can do.
Also, as an aside, I just want
those who can buy power will buy. Those who will need to be prudent in the use of power will be prudent. I remember in last November, I was in the UK, and somebody said to me, and he said, look, please turn off the water, turn off the light.
That's how
because money is running.
Yes.
So when people get to understand that they are paying for things,
for prepaid
people
meters,
they will manage it.
So that's why, like, 2 months ago, when Mr. Adelabu came out to be telling us that we are wasting power, is it not the power will be paid for?
I paid for it.
I don't understand all this conversation.
I think that
yeah, but
because
in terms of the distribution of meter, it's still weak. I remember when Baba Tunde Fashola was the minister, he came up with a law that anybody who is not having a prepaid meter should not pay electricity bill. But that law never saw the light of the day because there are 1 million and more people who don't have prepaid. And because those people who are in EKDC or IKDC or whatever disco they belong, they enjoy carrying ladder from place to place. It begs them more than allowing people to have meters.
First off, it's expensive. Second of all, it's very tedious. The process is very tedious to get the meter.
No,
and then the turnaround time as well is another problem.
They are the ones that are making it difficult so that you won't get it.
For when you pay.
It's deliberate.
And if the discos are complaining that they do not have enough funds, I think it's a problem because if you have prepaid meters everywhere in the country, as long as I have my money, I buy my credit, I will pay. But if you have estimated billing...
Has disco given anybody a meter for free? Omobola?
No, it's 75,000.
You pay for it! So why is it becoming a problem to give you something that you can pay for?
And it even depends on the area.
It depends on, that's what I'm trying to say.
There are questions.
It's like Nokia telling us that they need 10 billion to be able to get food in the market. Why? What kind of an argument is that?
When are we going to start answering these questions? Why should an estate be... If I'm trying to put up an estate, doesn't matter how big or how small, I get transmitters. I get transformers. I get poles. I get cables. And when I get them to connect every single thing, once that thing touches the light, it ceases to be mine.
You also pay them to connect it.
No. Yes. When should we start asking this question?
You pay them to do the connection.
To the connection.
Yes.
Once there's power on those lines, every of this single equipment and product automatically becomes that of disco.
Wow. So many questions, so many solutions have been preferred as regards resolving the issue in the power sector. First, we came up with privatization of distribution of power. And then, we went into the prepaid conversation and start really solving it. And then we went into the categorizing, banding.
It has become bandit now because I'm getting correct. It's actually bandit right now. Bandit A or bandit B?
Because I know areas.
They're holding you to ransom
at this point.
I know areas that are in band A that do not have up to 22 hours of power. Yeah. I know areas that are under band A that do not even have up to 10 hours of power. So it is highly questionable what the Minister of Power is saying, the fact that Nigeria needs $10 billion yearly for 60 years in order for us to resolve our power issues. Let's move on now to the next story. President Bola Tinubu has been invited by Pope Leo to attend his official installation as the 267th Bishop of Rome. The new Pope, he once worked in Lagos, by the way, sent the invitation through Cardinal Pietro Parolin. Tinubu is expected to leave Abuja on Saturday and attend the inauguration mass on Sunday, May 18th at St. Peter's Square in Vatican City. The invitation was made public on Thursday by Bayo Ananuga, the president's special advisor. And in the letter, the Pope said Nigeria holds a special place in his heart because he worked here in the 1980s. He described the event as important for both the church and the world and asked President Tinubu to be present. So the president will travel with top Catholic leaders from Nigeria, including Archbishop Lucius Ugoji, Archbishop Ignatius Kaigama, Archbishop Alfred Martins, Bishop Matthew Kuka, and Ambassador Bianca Odumegu Ojukwu. The Pope, formerly Cardinal Robert Prevost, was elected after the death of Pope Francis on April 21st. Top Catholic cardinals in Nigeria, and then Bianca's name is there, but it's fine. Let's move past that. Let's move on now to the significance of
don't forget that she's the foreign affairs.
And so I guess they mean and Bianca.
The foreign affairs minister. So understand
she will be good first to go prepare the ground.
No. If we are going now with foreign affairs, it is.
This is diplomatic.
It's diplomatic. Vatican is a country.
It's Vatican is a country.
No, I get that. But it's on a personal level.
No, it's not personal.
It's not.
It's going on the behalf of the state.
And that's what she asked me.
Yes. So what?
I still have a question about it, but it's fine.
Don't question it. It's
I can and I will. And it's my personal.
Don't worry. When she returns, we will invite her.
But the point is, what's the significance? You know, what significance does this hold for Nigeria?
I think for me, it's something that
we should be happy.
We should be quite happy about, and I think it's not a general invitation. This was a specific invitation to the government of Nigeria. And I think that the Pope also recognized, and of course that also, that Africa or Nigeria as Africa as a continent, Nigeria as a country, is also seen in the eye of the papacy. And I think there are some few things that we must take to heart, especially when the new Pope says his ministry is beginning at a very, very auspicious time in history, because the calendar year of the church is the Jubilee, and there's a time that people can think about hope. And when you remember the story of Jubilee, it means the story of freedom. Probably Africa, indeed, that has been held hostage by the West, should now begin to have a voice within the West that is speaking freedom for Africa. And that is how I see this conversation, that it means for us, the Pope is saying, okay, there's a hope for those who have been oppressed. And our government has been talking about renewed hope. And I think from the external voices, we are seeing more hope coming back to the country. That is what it does mean to me.
if we go by your analogy of the hope, then we should have also seen Hope Uzodinma as part of those
that are going for the for that. But I don't know, maybe I can't relate. I'm sorry.
Uzodinma is only Catholic, so it may not be.
His name is Hope.
I mean, it's a good thing. I think that the Vatican recognizes us and wants us to be there. I think it's a beautiful thing.
The Vatican did not recognize
the Pope, who is the leader of the Vatican,
worked in Nigeria.
Yeah, but that's also good, because
it's the same reason why last year with the France situation, Emmanuel Macron, president of France, worked in Nigeria, and due to that, the president went to France, and there was, a very.
No, but what are you saying? If the president is your friend, you don't know what that means
for relations. It's good for relations.
So, which means
if the Pope is our friend,
yes,
what good does it bring to Nigeria?
That's what it means.
You didn't love missionary.
When they're talking. That's what it means.
Do you agree?
Okay, now if you say do I agree? Well, I wish I was part of that entourage. I would have given you a better, precise, concise answer. But since we are not there, we'll wait for Bianca to return, and we'll ask this particular question. I look forward to a very good meeting. I look forward to also seeing the Pope recognize that the cardinals from this side of the divide played a good role in making sure that, yes, his tenure will not just be good, but will be excellent. Because we have like 2-3 of them there. And they were also present during that particular voting. And for Nigeria...
Only one voted anyway.
We wish them the best. Why others
I
skipped?
wish you all the best.
Why others skipped? For Nigeria and every Catholic faithful, this is one thing for sure. If the Pope is standing to make sure that the doctrine is what is upheld and we go back to as a people, if the number of Catholics can also hold on to that doctrine, I think Nigeria will be a better place.
It would be,
Yeah, but you see, one of the things that also will be is that we're also expecting the Pope to also focus on one issue that has bedeviled the globe, and that's the problem of conflict. And of course, Vatican has been raising that voice that there are more Christians killed in Nigeria than anywhere else in the world. So, which is also an issue. And we also expect that, of course, the Pope also call the attention of Mr. President to the issue of this religious crisis and conflict in our country and see what is it doing, what is the roadmap, and in what way would the Vatican also be able to assist. Because don't forget that in the last how many years, in the last 2 or 3 years, over 4 or 5 Catholic priests also had become victim of this terrible religious crisis. And so the Pope must be also concerned about it. And I hope that there'll be opportunity to have at least, even if it is 5 minutes of chat with the Pope to say, okay, this is the position of the Vatican on how, of course, we can interfaith dialogue in Nigeria and ensure that we don't exacerbate the conflict that's already taking a toll on the poor country.
Oh, well, that's a wrap for today on the Souq Business Landscape. We started off, or we kicked off conversation around the fact that Apapa has now been approved as a central business district, which we're looking forward to, the economic implications in Lagos State, of course. And then we also moved on to other conversations around, business, economy, and development of the country, wrapping things off with leadership diplomacy, whether or not, or what significance, the visit of the president would be to the Vatican. Join us again on the Souq Business Landscape. But before we go, thank you very much, Moyosore Adebiyi.
Glad to be here. Thank
All right, and Dr. Staman Zaidahusa.
It was amazing being by your side.
Always a pleasure. And of course, Mr. Chuk John Rogers.
Thank you very much. We look forward to next week.
My name is Omobola Sandra. Stay tuned.